very interesting, the whole discussion, I think, because it's funny as an American when you come to Europe and then you constantly hear about people talking about the Americanization of the rest of the world. And that's always a bad thing from their, point of view. And I understand what they mean. And I do think in many ways it is a bad thing because we're not doing the best in a lot of different metrics. You know what I mean? So the whole world can't act as, let's say, behave as poorly as we have for the past, 50 years or so. But what is interesting is it is kind of like, so the stuff that sometimes people get afraid of, I think, is what is a little bit misguided. And always, I think politicians cause a lot of this because politicians will just take one thing and then they know enough people care about it and then they just get everybody aggressively against it. For instance, like here in the Netherlands, there's a lot of, I think over 50% of the master's programs taught in the Netherlands are taught in English. And there's this growing fear in the Netherlands that like English is going to, replace Dutch and all this kind of stuff. And I think anybody who knows Dutch people and knows how much they love to speak Dutch to each other knows Dutch is not per se going to go away. But there, I'm sure, is more of a danger of like, if you're Dutch and you go to Amsterdam and Rotterdam, like you're not going to see any Dutch. You're not going to hear any Dutch, like there are some, I think, issues there. But politicians will take that and then they just run with it and have a whole platform of like, I'm the anti-English politician. And then you're guaranteed the votes of all these people, who hate English. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is like when we were growing up, we had fast food, we had this explosion of all these things, but then your own local cuisine didn't really go anywhere. Like your mom still has the recipe from her mom that she learned and she still knows how to find these raw ingredients and cook these kind of things. So that's often a fear is that like say in Italy, when the first Starbucks is going to come or when McDonald's comes, it's like the other stuff is going to go away. And that I think is one of the misplaced things because there's tons of things wrong with fast food, right? That I think the slow food movement kind of tries to address. But sometimes it just seems like the fear is what the first thing that happens is the fear of like, okay, McDonald's is here. All of our traditional, not even just like Italian, but say like local Pulian food or something like that. You're afraid that these small little traditional foods are going to go away.
Yeah, but in a way, that is also true. So, I mean, I agree that people should have a choice. So, if someone wants to go and get a coffee at Starbucks, it's not like the end of the world. But in the other way, because of this like simplification and industrialization of the food chain, then we are indeed losing not only recipes, but really ingredients. There is a huge loss of biodiversity in the world because of monocrops. So we start producing monocrops and
what is a monocrop?
Monocrops, it's like a single variety of fruit or vegetable that is like planted on like a huge portion of land, and people start to consume only that type of food or crop. Like for example, soy. It's a huge monocrop that it's it's cultivated in a lot of areas, especially in Brazil, for example. There was like all this huge debate of deforestation, and a lot of this deforestation is due to soy plantations, and other monocrops are corn, for example, or also cash crops, like for example, like a cotton or coffee, cacao. All these crops that are like normally only one variety that is used from the industry, and then all the others are just put aside, and at some point they're lost because no one cultivates them anymore. And the reason is that for the farmers, it's much easier and much more profitable to grow that type of crops. And also normally these crops are also subsidized by governments, or that sometimes have deals with multinationals, like for example, Monsanto, that these multinationals, they provide farmers with seeds, they provide farmers with the chemicals to grow the seeds. And then they start to use those. And then for the first years, it is indeed much more productive, but then yes, she also gets angry because of this.
She's
topic.
Passionate. I can see it.
So, so basically the first year it is more profitable, but then it starts to become a sort of slavery because they always have to grow those seeds and use those fertilizers, because also the the land, the soil becomes less productive. And then if you plant like your normal seeds of before, they don't grow anymore. So you still have to use like those like a hybrid seeds, for example. And also another thing is that normally these seeds that are sold like with the package, you cannot really keep them. Like the farmers cannot keep the seeds and plant them again next year, but they always have to buy it because the second and third generation of seeds is less powerful. So that's also the trick. Whereas with a normal traditional crop, you can just keep a part of the seeds aside and then just keep growing it, and you are independent from the commerce. So that is a big deal. And that comes with the industrialization, which is partially also Americanization, as you called it.
Yep, sure. Okay, so very interesting.